When my mom introduced us to people, she always said, "This is Cassidy, our little doctor in the making." If I was there, I became, and this is her sister. No name, no details, just a blurry figure on the side. At first I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I was being dramatic, but then came Cassidy's high school graduation, summer of 2019, Charleston, South Carolina. Everyone showed up in floral dresses and camera-ready grins. My name wasn't even on the custom cake. And when my mom gave her speech in front of all our relatives, she said, "To my brightest light." I was standing right beside the buffet table. Eventually, I stopped pushing back. I stopped asking why they never shared my art school scholarship on Facebook, why they never drove up to Asheville to see my student exhibits, why I didn't make the holiday cards anymore. I still remember the Christmas card from 2021. They wore matching green sweaters. Even the cat had a little one. Where I used to be, it was Cassidy, centered, holding the cat. My parents flanking her like they were posing for a magazine cover. They didn't crop me out. They restaged the entire shot. No one ever said I was cut off. But I learned that being erased doesn't take a scandal. It just takes silence. Polite indifference. My name is Ren Holloway, and if you ask my mother, she has one daughter. Then, last Tuesday, I got an email. Not from my family. Of course not. It was from the University of Charleston's alumni office, Cassidy's college, not mine. Subject: You're invited. Class of 2025 commencement highlights. I nearly deleted it, but something caught my eye. Keynote speaker, major contributor, and tech angel. Identity, to be revealed. I clicked, scrolled past the balloons, the donations, the parking map, and then I saw it. A blurred-out silhouette, the caption read, "Keynote investor, CEO of one of the fastest-growing medtech startups in rural America." Unconfirmed, but heavily rumored to be me. My heart didn't know whether to race or stop. No one knew I was behind Riverstone Diagnostics. I built it in the shadows, under a different name, through silent funding rounds and low-profile clinical partnerships. I didn't want the spotlight. I wanted space. I wanted peace. Until now. A few hours later, another email pinged into my inbox. This one wasn't meant for me. It was a messy chain of forwarded messages between my Aunt June and the rest of the family. Photos of Cassidy's graduation gown, the brunch menu, seating charts, and then one line from my mom. "Make sure Ren doesn't hear about it. The last thing we need is a distraction on Cassidy's big day." Distraction. That word struck harder than any insult ever had. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd planned around my absence. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel sad. I felt something colder, sharper. I wasn't going to crash the graduation. No, I was going to own the building next door. I sat in silence that night. No lights, no music, just the fridge humming and my laptop screen glowing. Faint blue. Their words spun in the background like an old cassette. "She'll ruin it. She always makes it about herself." And I believed them, not suddenly. Like water wearing down stone, erosion over time. Until I wasn't sure where their voices ended and mine began. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe not coming home for Christmas, skipping birthdays, hiding my success behind legal aliases. Maybe that was cold. Or maybe it was survival. Even now, I didn't know. I stared at my reflection in the darkened laptop screen. Tired eyes, hoodie pulled halfway over a messy bun, the worn fabric of my Riverstone Diagnostics logo barely visible in the low light. This was who I had become. The girl they whispered had dropped out. The girl who walked away. No one ever saw me for what I really was. And if no one sees you, do you even exist? The next morning, I flipped open my laptop again. Logged into our investor platform. There it was, confirmation. University of Charleston, class of 2025 commencement, keynote speaker slot. Confirmed, name withheld for suspense. I hovered over the field marked display name. Typed 3 words, then clicked save. Ren Holloway, CEO. It started with a noise. a soft rustling at the back of my kitchen drawer. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. Maybe a takeout menu, maybe a charger. But my fingers brushed against an old piece of paper. A faded lunch receipt, nearly 5 years old. And on the back, scribbled in familiar handwriting, "You don't have to be loud to be powerful." My mother's handwriting. She used to leave notes like that, in books, in my coat pockets, before exams. She passed when I was 19. She never got to see any of this. But that note, it felt perfectly timed, like she'd planned it for this day. Almost on cue, my phone lit up. A message from Owen, my CTO. "Investor Summit locked, same campus, same weekend. You in?" And then it hit me. Cassidy's graduation would be right across the quad. Same university. Same date. Same hour. It felt poetic, like life had drawn a perfect circle and I was finally standing at the center. I opened 2 browser tabs. One for the summit itinerary. One for the university's graduation guest portal. Under guest name, I used a pseudonym. Reserved a front row seat. Not to speak, not to interrupt. I just wanted to watch, not heard. Them. The people who erased me. I wasn't trying to reclaim a seat at their dinner table. I was going to own the entire building next door. At 2:07 a.m., the confirmation emails landed. First, Investor Summit, seat confirmed. Then, University of Charleston graduation, front row ticket confirmed. 2 worlds, 1 campus, 1 weekend, and I had 1 foot in each. I didn't use my full name for the graduation ticket, just my initials, WH. I didn't want attention, not yet. I wanted proximity. I wanted to see the look on my father's face when he realized the daughter he'd written off still knew how to walk into a room without warning. That morning I packed light, a fitted black blazer, 1 simple dress, and a pair of low-heeled shoes I hadn't worn since the day I pitched Riverstone Diagnostics to a board of skeptical investors. No one asked if I had a degree. I didn't. What I did have was traction, data, a vision, and the resolve to make it real. As the train pulled into Charleston, I caught a glimpse of the old science building through the window, the same one I used to nap in between lectures, where Cassidy once told her friends I was just a dropout who wouldn't stop following her around. Now, my name was quietly listed in the summit itinerary, right next to Keynote. When I arrived at the graduation venue, the usher scanned my ticket and smiled. "This one was requested early. Reserve front row. Looks like someone really wanted you here." I smiled back. I guess they did. I sat 3rd seat from the aisle. Sunlight warmed the back of my neck. Rows of students began filing in. Robes, caps, polished shoes. No one noticed me, not yet. But I noticed everyone. Then I heard it. My father's voice. Low, clipped, commanding. He stood at the far end of the row, speaking with a campus staffer holding a clipboard and radio. That voice, it was the one he used to clear a room without ever shouting. He scanned the crowd, eyes narrowed, searching, judging, expecting trouble. The usher approached me again. "Ma'am, can I confirm your name for the seating log?" I handed her my ticket. She nodded politely, smiled, moved on. 2 rows ahead, Cassidy took her seat with the other graduates. The show was about to begin. Camps tilted just right. Gowns flawlessly pressed. Cassidy looked the same, maybe colder, maybe more refined. But I recognized the look on her face. The one she wore when she was in character. Performing. She was always good at playing perfect. A professor passed by, paused, glanced at me, then did a double take. "Wait," he whispered. "You're in, Ren Holloway, Riverstone, right?" Oh, answer just gave him a small smile. "I read your white paper on decentralized diagnostics, your infrastructure model. It's revolutionary." He said it just loud enough for the 2 people behind me to glance over. Across the quad, university banners fluttered. The loudspeakers crackled to life. The ceremony was starting. Behind me, my father's voice rose again, agitated now. "She's not supposed to be here. She's not on the list." I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Let him look, let him squint, search, spiral. Because the daughter he buried in silence wasn't sitting there. Only the woman in the front row. And soon, everyone would know her name. The Investors Summit was set to begin 40 minutes after the graduation wrapped. Right across the quad, inside the glass auditorium, banners already rotated on massive digital displays. Riverstone Diagnostics, closing keynote. The quiet pivot that disrupted rural medtech. As Cassidy's department chair stepped up to speak, I slipped out. My seat was empty before my father even realized I'd been there. Backstage at the summit, my assistant met me with the final slide deck. All set, she said, handing over the tablet. They still don't know it's you. Even the dean thinks the CEO is some reclusive Ivy League guy. I nodded, flipping through the slides. Charts, metrics, clinical growth curves, all solid. But something was missing. I paused at the final slide. It just said, "Thank you." Plain, safe, forgettable. I deleted it. Typed something new. Ren Holloway, University of Charleston. Class of never. And beneath that, smaller. You erased me, so I built something permanent. My assistant glanced over my shoulder and blinked. That's bold. It's honest, I replied. She didn't argue. I took one last look at my reflection in the black screen. Hair tied back, no makeup, just a fitted blazer and a name they once tried to erase. Outside, I could hear clapping echo across the courtyard. The graduation was wrapping up. Inside, the summit's host took the stage. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Riverstone Diagnostics. At that exact moment, as cameras flashed and heads turned, Cassidy's professor leaned toward her and whispered something. I stepped onto the stage. The lights weren't blinding, the stage didn't feel high, and for once, I didn't feel small. Projected behind me, bold, clean, undeniable. Ren Holloway, CEO, Riverstone Diagnostics. For a second, the room stayed quiet, not out of doubt, but realization. Whispers. Then phones. Then stunned silence. They had been quoting my models, my research, my data for years, and they had never known it was me. I took a breath. I built Riverstone because no one in my family believed I could finish anything. And honestly, they weren't completely wrong. I didn't finish college. I didn't finish family holidays. I didn't finish being the daughter they wanted. I paused, let it settle. But I finished this. Click. Next slide, a map of our rural health network. Dots marking small towns, forgotten clinics, now pulsing with life and care. It's like hospital partnerships, patient access, outreach milestones. Click. A grainy photo, me, 6 years ago, soldering parts in a dorm hallway. No lab, no funding, no recognition. I looked across the room, trustees, students, deans. In the third row, sitting beside a junior professor, I saw Cassidy's advisor. His eyes widened. He leaned toward her again. You didn't tell me she was your sister, he said, just loud enough for the mic to catch. Cassidy froze. The professor turned back to me, then said with a slight smile, Nice work, CEO. That was the moment. Not the ovation that followed. Not the cascade of messages from people who once ghosted me. That moment, the truth finally visible, was enough. It was that one line. From the one person Cassidy had always wanted approval from. The one moment she couldn't rehearse. The one sentence that didn't belong to her. I didn't look at her directly. I didn't need to. I knew she was watching. And I knew my father was somewhere behind her, teeth clenched, fists tight. But I didn't need to speak. Because the truth had already spoken. And this time, it had a microphone. I slipped out the back. No reporters, no photos. Just the echo of applause bouncing off the glass behind me. I didn't wait for compliments. I didn't linger for the catered reception. I didn't have to. By the time I reached my hotel lobby, my phone was already vibrating non-stop. 37 unread messages, 6 missed calls from unknown numbers. And one text from my cousin. Was that you on stage? Dad nearly choked. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. A clip of the moment had already gone viral. The line, "Nice work, CEO," was being replayed, subtweeted, captioned, and in every repost, there I was, alone at the podium, my name glowing behind me. The silence I'd carried for years finally answered. I didn't tag the university, didn't mention Cassidy, didn't say a word, but I knew they saw it. Because hours later, Cassidy's graduation photo vanished from my father's Facebook page, replaced with a quote about staying humble. Glass. Cassidy didn't tag anyone either. No thank you to my amazing family caption. Just one over-filtered photo. No smile, no context. I never returned their silence with noise. But they heard me. In the halls where my name was never spoken. In the rooms they never thought I'd re-enter. In whispers from professors, students, strangers, they said the name they buried. Wren Holloway. Not their mistake. Not their shame. Not their failure. Just a woman who stood tall and didn't look back. The Monday after the summit, my inbox lit up again. But not with VC firms or journalists. It was family. Not directly, of course. That would require accountability. These came wrapped in casual curiosity. A message from my second cousin. "Hey Ren, long time. Just saw the keynote. Wow. Any chance you're hiring interns this summer?" An email from my father's old college friend. "Greg mentioned you're doing something in healthcare. Our son just graduated. Would love to connect." And then the boldest one of all, a LinkedIn message from Cassidy's boyfriend. We'd met once. He barely made eye contact. "No. Didn't realize Riverstone was yours. Truly impressive. Let me know if you're ever building a legal team." No mention of Cassidy. No apology. Just acknowledgement. That they finally saw me. Just doors opening. The same ones they shut in my face over a decade ago. I didn't respond to most of the messages after the summit, but I forwarded one to my assistant. "Put this one on the not in this lifetime list." She replied with a thumbs up. And a smiling skull. The irony wasn't lost on me. They used to call me a dropout. Said I'd be lucky to keep a desk job. Now they were asking me for one. They didn't notice when I became their cautionary tale. But they'd remember the day I became their missed opportunity. And the best part? I never raised my voice. I just raised the bar. They didn't erase me with cruelty. They erased me with silence. With cropped photos. With empty seats. Not violent. Just quiet. Intentional. Until even I wondered if I had ever been there at all. And when I finally walked away, no fight, no final word, they acted relieved. Like the family had healed. So I let them believe that. Let them sit in rooms and say, "We haven't heard from Ren in years." As if I were a ghost. Not their daughter, not their sister. But the truth doesn't stay buried. Not when it builds something real. This time, they couldn't hide behind silence. My name was on the screens, on the banners, echoed in classrooms and conference halls. I never asked to be welcomed back. I just made sure, everywhere they turned, I was already there, not as the failure they whispered about, but as the woman they now had to Google. I never went back to the house. Not when my father sent word through a cousin, something about letting the past go. He didn't mean apology. He meant damage control. I wasn't interested. There was nothing for me there. Not the peeling wallpaper. Not the shelf where my awards used to be. Not even the garden my mother once loved, now bitter and dry. But I did return. Just not the way they hoped. I returned in hospitals using our tech. In classrooms quoting my research. In the mouths of people who once looked past me. They couldn't rewrite me. Couldn't reshape me. Couldn't claim me. And that was the final gift. They buried me in silence. So I came back with something louder. Ren Holloway, CEO, unforgettable. If you've ever felt invisible, cut out of family photos, left out of conversations, treated like a background character in your own story, then this is for you. I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and tell me when you decided to stop waiting for permission and started writing your own legacy. You don't need anyone's approval to matter. You don't need to be loud to be powerful, and most of all, you don't need to go back to the people who buried you to prove that you've grown. Sometimes just becoming unforgettable is enough.